using your emotional intelligence for better overall performance. Let's get one thing clear. Too many of us have a problem separating our thoughts from our emotional states. Whenever some sort of mental image comes to mind, if somebody says something, it triggers a wave of negative emotional states. If you're not careful, you'll end up saying or doing something that you will come to regret later on. You feel that you can't help it. You just need to think of something or somebody has to say or do something, and you get triggered. This leads to all sorts of rash actions. Chances are, if you're like most other people, you don't like this, or at least you shouldn't. This all boils down to an improper analysis of whatever it is that triggered you. It doesn't matter whether it's a thought or a word somebody said or something that they did, you improperly analyze it and you come up with hasty conclusions, and oftentimes these lead to something that you would regret. Emotional intelligence enables you to get out from this trap, using emotions to your advantage. The first thing that you need to do is understand your emotional responses. This is important. You can't just gloss over this. You can't just rush through this. You can't just automatically assume that you have a problem with your emotions and this is why you're taking this training in the first place. No, you're going to have to slowly walk through what your typical emotional responses are. You have to get a clear understanding of what you're thinking or what you're perceiving and how you respond. This is how you get out from under them. It all boils down to getting a clear perspective on the issues in your life. Now that you have a clear understanding of how you normally react, ask yourself these questions. What kind of emotional state would lead me to a better understanding of what's going on around me? What range of emotions would help me burn less bridges? What kind of feelings would lead to more effective actions? Remember, your analysis of your stimuli is what triggers these range of emotions. By looking at the emotions that you want to end up with, you can then walk back from that point to a better analysis. That raises the question, how should I read the things that normally trigger me so I can end up with these more positive emotions? Understand how you interpret your emotions. You have to take control of how you analyze the things that are happening around you. Now, this is easier said than done, especially if you tend to react habitually. Still, it can be done. How? First, you need to avoid jumping to conclusions. Don't automatically assume that there's only one way to read a situation. For example, somebody came up to you and said you're ugly. Is there only one way to respond to that? Similarly, if somebody said you're fat or you have back acne, what then? Avoid jumping to conclusions. The conclusion here, of course, is that you should push back. There are other ways to deal with stimuli. When you do this, you open yourself to more opportunities. I know that this is difficult because you're going to have to overcome your very natural instinct of self-preservation. Nobody likes getting hurt. Nobody likes to be made to feel small, ugly, or unwanted. But you would have to overcome that to see the opportunities in front of you. If a positive reading is impossible, at least go for a neutral reading. Go for an interpretation that is not going to lead you to feeling small, insulted, or degraded. Do yourself a big favor by avoiding these. You would do yourself a very big favor by avoiding the following. First, you have to get rid of whatever victim narratives you choose to believe about yourself. I know this might come as a bit of a shock, but you are not a victim. If you're a victim, things happen to you. You can't make things happen. You are always at the receiving end of life. You know that that's not true. The fact that you have chosen to take this training is testimony to the fact that you're not as big of a victim as you think you are. Another narrative that you need to avoid is the idea that there is always constant conflict and that it is all you deserve. No, you deserve better. Things don't have to end up with some sort of win-lose situation. For you to win, somebody doesn't necessarily have to lose, and vice versa. Don't think that people are out to get you, or that the best of things have been taken by other people and the only way to get ahead is to take from somebody else. Believe it or not, there is such a thing as a win-win. That is the opportunity that I want you to train your mind on. Unfortunately, you need a tremendous amount of emotional intelligence to find the win-win situation in most interpersonal interactions. The good news is that it's always present. There is always a win-win. I mean, it's not always going to be bright and obvious, but it's always there. It's your job to look for it. Finally, you need to let go of an ego-centered narrative. I hate to be the one to break this to you, but the world is not about you. The world existed before you were born, and guess what? It's going to continue to exist long after you're dead. A little bit of selflessness enables you to see a bigger picture. That bigger picture is not all about your emotions, how you feel small, how you were abused, and how you were made to feel embarrassed. It's something bigger than that. The more you identify with something that is bigger than you, the more you grow up emotionally. All of these narratives that you need to avoid also present perfect opportunities for you to increase your emotional intelligence. The more you work to avoid these narratives and dismantle them in your mind and heart, the more progress you make in becoming a more emotionally mature person.